All right, it's January 19th, 2023, here with Shingai and Peter T. And we're in education meeting. Last week, there was a short video. I tried to overview both projects. If you have any thoughts or notes on that.
Well done. I did watch it. That was good. Did you put it anywhere on the website, or
No,
did you just sent it out on the email? Did you get any other? I mean, I thought it was really good. I don't know if I told you, I said you I've watched it, but I think it's good to do things like that. And probably, you should just go on the website and add a blog item or something, and just put it on the blog. Would be my suggestion to you, to just say, here's an update on education and knowledge engineering and so on, and put it on the blog.
Okay.
That's just a suggestion. I mean, it's a good update.
Forum post or a blog post?
Well, there's two ways of doing things on the front page of ISSS. One is a news item and the other is a blog post. So, if you've got a blog post, then I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, I think it's kind of newsy, but it's also a blog. It's bloggable, I suppose, one might say. So.
Right.
I think the challenge with all of this is getting people engaged, and I still struggle. I mean, I'm obviously very interested in this topic, and obviously Shanghai is very interested in this topic, so we turn up. A lot of people express an interest in education, but it's almost as if they expect it all to be provided rather than helping actually contribute to its creation and operation. And I mean, it's a classic problem in any volunteer organization. I'm not quite sure what the answer is in this particular circumstances, but I think you're putting in a tremendous amount of work, Daniel, and it's all very good because we're moving forward. I don't know, just an observation. I think what you're doing is great, and it should be encouraging more participation.
Well, glad you think so. I think we always have to kind of be in both projects that we can move ahead regardless. For example, doing a survey.
That's
there's
good.
like a lot of things that a small group can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is the classical trade-off. And even when you have a full-time PhD student salary and healthcare and all the structure, that doesn't also solve it. So it isn't, I mean, it's just obvious that it's not simply a financial question.
Right. So it's motivational and time. And that's really intriguing.
Yeah. What I mean, one approach that might be helpful would be some specific people who we feel like could make a contribution. Just personally ask them, what kind of activities do you feel like you have bandwidth for? Not even in this project, just in general. You're busy, but you want to also do good collaboration.
Right.
Because we're also kind of exploring that in the Atlas project in CogSec, with like, what do people actually want to do in terms of their collaboration in an affiliation-free zone? Because that really sifts out a lot of the affiliation and like intra-organizational associated standards. And part of it is just the uncertainty around what may be literally simpler things than they do in other settings. are there other approaches to coordinating people's contributions just historically that have worked other than having portfolios of strategies and subtasks?
Well, the
Is
only
there,
thing that comes to mind, I mean, here we are, right, on the meeting. Now, what if we advertise this more generally or broadly? On the one hand, there's an invitation, and we could send it out. We could send out an invitation like every week as a reminder. People might just click on it and turn up. So that would be something to be interesting to just do. It's like set it up on the mail system within ISSS and send it out to all members, on a Thursday morning, maybe an hour or two before 2 o'clock, like at lunchtime, 12 p.m. or something. And just say, in 2 hours, we'll be meeting again. And so people might click on it. And that would be one way of doing it. The other thought that came to mind is that you can go live off of Zoom to Facebook, for example, and it's not inconceivable. You could do a live, this could be live on Facebook ISSS page, which sort of is a different and radical point of view. And if I was really organized, I can do it live through Vimeo and send that off from Vimeo, YouTube, and a few other places. But that's getting complicated. But it would be a participative way. I mean, maybe just do it on the education one, not so much on the knowledge management. But because every 2 weeks, you could just make this a send out an automated email to the whole ISSS membership, just saying, just a reminder, the once every 2 weeks session on education and ISSS is meeting at 2 o'clock on Thursday, or 11 a.m. Pacific, and you're welcome to join. I mean, that would get people just clicking on it in random, I imagine, and you never know who might turn up, just like the Saturday sessions, essentially. So I'll leave that with you as sort of the chair and coordinator, but something to consider or think about if you want to get more people potentially clicking in, as it were.
Thanks for the ideas. Okay, one thought was having periodic live stream enables people who do just want to ask a few comments, provide some suggestions, but maybe even be in the coda if they have access. Just say,
Oh,
hey, it's 4 of us on this stream.
yeah,
There's a few more people in coda. We're just going to work on this hour or
yeah.
this 90 minutes. So that's a very good idea. And then, but let's consider it. But the more general thing that made me think of is like, the live stream's an amazing affordance, obviously.
Mhm.
But in the long run, you only see like 1,000th of videos in your life.
Oh, I know.
So the difference between live stream and recorded is small, and it is a possibility that the largest impacts that recorded videos will have is not even through people watching them. So it's so important to retain the actual live experience if we want to have one. Or there are ways where we don't have any live experience at all, and what's recorded is the asynchronous experience, which is still very interesting. But the video thing, it's like, because of social media, we can grab people's attention, but that can go far. But also there's kind of this other aspect to simply doing it and creating the interactions that a small group can still have large impact, I think, through the quality of what they do rather than any social media success.
Yeah,
Which again, is
no, I
like
agree.
correlated with the right people seeing it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But like everything that Snowden posts is widely shared on social media, which is great for him and his life and community and everything like that. There is that game. And there are automations and ways to work with like freelance, such that setting up some of these automations, like multi-streaming and email alerts, these are like very basic processes.
Mhm.
So it would be highly possible to really think about what kind of educational production we simply want to do.
Right.
And then
That's just
be
what I
like,
was
okay,
wondering. Yeah.
let's have George and Shingai
Yeah.
have this series, and then have somebody feels like their ISSS idea has not been, they didn't get enough time to talk in the Q&A,
Mhm.
then they can join and have these kinds of sessions, and they can do their own recording. Like, it doesn't all have to be streams.
Mm. It's just interesting. I mean, Carl's here.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hmm.
Well, Shinghai, if you were going to do something, I mean, if you were going to, yeah, I'd like to hear from you about some of these ideas and how you
Yeah,
might.
yeah, absolutely. So I think the idea of bringing people on who want to like share they feel like they maybe we're in a Q&A session and they want to talk a bit more about their ideas, what they're interested in. Definitely like the idea of sort of giving people a platform to talk about specific educational content. Like, I know for me personally, and I'm happy to share this later, but I am starting to dive into the work of putting some of George's work into slides and a slide presentation. And I think that could be like really compelling and interesting for people. So yeah, I would say having more compelling content about like specific topics in these sessions would be a great way to bring more eyeballs in.
Okay.
Question that comes up for me is what sort of traction do other SIGs and working groups within the ISSS have? Like, are there any groups that have just like really high levels of participation and engagement, or do most working groups have similar problems?
Well, there's
I have
two
no sense of that,
there's
so I'm
two special
curious.
interest groups. Yeah, there's two special interest groups that are really active. One is the holism special interest group, and they meet every 2 weeks. And then is the systems innovation and engagement leadership group, and they're pretty active as well. But those are the two special interest groups that I'm most aware of.
Mhm.
And after that, in terms of activity, I mean, we're the most active in the sense of meeting every week and having a dynamic recording of the video itself and also the coda. And having two very specific topics to talk about. I would say, this is probably one of the more, if not the most active subgroup. I mean, you've got a group that's working on the conference; they're very active. But that would be my assessment. And Ruerlin and the group that does the Saturday sessions, and then the other group that's very active is the one that writes the newsletter with John Challoner and Ruerlin and so on. So those are the the Saturday session, the conference, the holistic SIG, the systemic innovation and engagement leadership SIG, the newsletter, if I didn't say it already, and then this group are probably the most active in my knowledge of what's going on. Hey, George.
Hello. Forgive me
Good to
while I
see
eat breakfast.
Okay, you do what you need to do. Yeah, so I think those are the most active groups within ISSS at the moment, frankly.
We'll return to this, but let's just look at a few of the active things.
Go on.
Well, first, there was described the kind of general internal and external focus for education. And one of the steps that we just identified over the last few weeks as being relevant to pursue, kind of to follow up on the 1985 work, but also to just have a more modern perspective. So I just copied out all the questions basically from the 1985 survey. The blank questionnaire was included here, and then the
Perfect.
rest of the yeah, and we can modify it however we want. Basically, information about the survey, who completed it, when did they complete it, information about the institution, different information on the program, and then like kind of extra resource collection, like asking about different topics and different publications. Not sure how common that is or was to do, but that seems like a little bit beyond the regular form that people fill out, but perhaps having optional fields, I mean, for everything, will be helpful. And where we were kind of going was to improve those survey questions, so anybody can go to the survey page and just add a row or any other information or field. Then the other two pieces we need to do are kind of enumerate the contacts to send this initially to, and then develop the email to send out to that identified list, including in the message, like, if you know anyone else you'd like to share this with, like, please feel free to do that.
Well, we could send
Basically-
it out on the, you could send it out on the newsletter list. That's 17. That's a kind of generic mailing list. There's 1,700 on that. And you could send it out to everybody who's on the ISSS website. And there's about 500 on that, which includes about 270 members. So that would be a start. And then, of course, you could put it on LinkedIn and Facebook and ask anybody to fill it in. Now, the question I ask is, you can do a survey from Coda directly, can you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
So you can turn that into a survey. Yeah.
you can take any table, then options. I'm just zooming out. You can see it as cards because it's a different view of this same table, so that's not going to
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
Detail view, and then you can do form.
Oh, okay.
That would fill out a new row in this table, and then you can publish the form, create link, and then
Okay.
people can take that form and it will add rows to that table.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So include a shorter post. I mean, even just make the invitation short. We want people to take the survey, not read a long thing, but we do need to convey why it's valuable to do this
Mhm.
and what they'll be expected, if anything, to like follow up on or any other consideration.
Right.
So over the next week or two, we can write the email in here, anyone who wants to, and then here, systems, organizations, universities, programs will like compile specific anything that we do, like we know that we want to reach out to. And then, you know, for this smaller set, at the fit, people can just remind them, or places that we know that we want to include, to just make sure that it's going to be complete and follow up on. But and then throwing it out to social media is just like, yeah, for now. Okay. Any other thoughts on this?
No.
All right. connected Dawn with the DES, Designing Educational Systems SIG, so they will complete their I guess in communication, but correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, any other specific one that somebody wants to go to? You want to talk about George, if you want to, and Shingai, we can return to our kind of theme about how we'll collaborate on this in this year.
Well, first of all, I'm really, I really apologize for missing out so much. Complicated story. And also sorry for being late this morning. I looked at the clock. I thought I had read it correctly, but I was a few minutes late. I did, at one point, I did try to catch up on what was going on, but can't say that I'm really clear on it.
The earlier discussion from just how working with Shingai, like not earlier in the conversation, just like the work of like the slides and the presentations that we had discussed. Or George, if you have a thought, or no worries.
Yeah, I'm trying to read this.
Oh, okay.
Pretty small.
Sorry, I was a minute. Just
There we go.
the discussion of weekly sessions. Just if you had anything to add or return to here, otherwise it's okay.
No, I don't think so. Shingai, have you done any more work?
Yeah, I have. I can like share my screen and give a quick overview of where I'm at and how I'm thinking about things. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I've taken the first chapter of the first textbook that you worked on with Alton and sort of divided it into 3 separate presentations that seemed natural and intuitive to me. So the first presentation is looking at this helicopter view of system science, and that's sort of broken up into 3 high-level sections. Why system science, the state of knowledge and understanding. We're looking at these existential threats. Traditional science is limited. Everything is a system. And so if we have a science of systems, we can transcend these disciplinary boundaries in a rigorous way. Then I look at the distinctive potential of system science, and then end with your discussion of system science as a mode of inquiry, the heritage of atomism, and this shift to a more holistic way of looking at things. So the first presentation, I think, could be on this high-level helicopter view. I think that the 12 principles of system science could deserve their own presentation. So talking about the principles as a framework, and then going into like a brief introduction of each of the 12 principles. And then I think the final chapter could look at the brief history of system science that you give. So going from the early 20th century, Ludwig von Bertalanffy, cybernetics, etc. And then I would end, I don't have the slide here, but you talk about the exposition of system science and how it could be taught, and that could be like a final slide. So that's kind of roughly how I'm thinking about how the first chapter could be taught in slide format is 3 separate presentations, the big picture, the 12 principles, and then an intro to the history of system science. So would love to collaborate on this, work on this with people, get feedback, but that's what I have so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work with PowerPoint and like kind of creating dynamic tables of content, so it allows presentations to be much more interactive. So I feel like I can contribute to working with you on testing some of those ideas and see what you think.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I would love to like Daniel or George or both of you would love to like maybe set up a separate meeting where I can like really refine the content and get that honed in. And then once the content is solid, move into the next phase of making it a bit more interactive.
Carl has been working on a what's it called, 3-question or 3-point or something process, which is very disciplined approach to a much more interactive form of delivery, which actually is really, I think, helpful because it, instead of sort of a blast of stuff on PowerPoint slides, you're actually structuring in very discrete segments and then inviting conversation. And I don't know if Carl, if you'd like to talk a little bit more about that process, the three, whatever it, 3 something.
Yeah, the
and,
three practice circles.
Yeah, would you like to just say a little bit more about that as an educational pedagogy? Oh, there you go. Yeah. You're on mute, Carl.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, it's basically a process that usually runs an hour, and you have a volunteer to talk about like a particular topic, and then they have 2 minutes to kind of share their ideas, and then people can ask them a clarifying question, and the volunteer has a minute to respond. So what we had done back December 9th is look at using this to talk about some of the ideas I have for my dissertation based on Doug Engelbart's work. And so basically it was like I was the volunteer. So I talked for 2 minutes, I had a few slides, and then I came back to the table of contents, and then people could ask me questions and stuff. And it really worked well. We're going to be looking at using that a lot at my university for helping people when they're kind of stuck and trying to figure out what am I doing, get back on track with their thoughts and stuff. So I thought it, well, Peter, you were there, so I thought it was very effective.
Yeah, no, that's why I mentioned it. Absolutely. I think it was effective. I think it's a different, you know, in any present, in order to get people engaged, I think it's a really good idea, you know, say something for 2 minutes and then say, well, there was a specific question, wasn't there? Could you help me clarify? What was the question form? It was like after the 2 minutes, it was suggested that you say, I'd be most interested in learning more about, there was a kind of phrasing of the question, wasn't there?
Yeah, and as you get more in, one of the things I'm excited about is there's really like the art of can really take the process to another level as people really get at the art of asking questions.
Yeah.
We've had a couple, I mean, the faculty, I mean, it's amazing. They have like really pinpoint questions and stuff. So I'm excited about how that helping people clarify their thoughts when they're stuck. And then well, Doug Engelbart's my primary person, and then I actually met Bill Smith back in 1998. So his whole AIC framework is really like my my whole sense making process. So it's on to start with, it's a very intuitive feel of the like AIC relationships among things. So it kind of generates three component and 9 component systems and things. So I'm working with him on the SIEL SIG. So
Yeah, this sounds really interesting. Just so I'm understanding, is the purpose of this framework to facilitate a more interactive process with like the presenter and the audience rather than just like speaking at them for a long time?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I like that idea a lot.
okay. So,
Yeah, makes me think about just the lecture style versus the dialogue style. I mean, obviously that's what's being described, but how those have ebbed and flowed through time. Like speaking shortly is not just social media. So having a bigger perspective of the rapid and of the slower and longer form, and then everyone's going to have different preferences and everything. All right. Shinga will continue to work on it. Then reach out to George and I. We can then work however needed to finalize content. Then maybe work on the slots.
okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to drop off here.
All right. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you. Good to see everyone.
Okay,
Yeah, well, that was a good contribution.
Yeah, that was awesome. Okay. Standards seems like a conversation for later. FedWiki. If anybody wants to, otherwise, not gonna work too hard on FedWiki. Actually, move FedWiki. Just it's already being addressed in knowledge engineering. Just
Yeah, I wouldn't worry
Right.
about that
yeah,
right now.
no, nothing.
Right now, anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, what remains is an external communication, also to members, but external survey invitation. So writing the invitation, curating the list of the organizations that we know that we want to reach out to, just preparing, and then just including ourselves in whom to send to, and then just forwarding to random people from there. That's kind of, we may be able to get a lot that way, but we could reassess that strategy after 2 weeks or something. Did we get 10 submissions or did we get like 100 submissions? So that'll be on the external communication side. Then on the internal communication side, to whatever extent we want to, or just wait to do it till some later time, write an email to members about what educational things we could do, although also thinking about it, if there are more people with bandwidth in this group, we would have better ability to handle those kinds of inbound requests. But maybe we could think about that in a few months. Or at least after we get the survey out, or I don't actually have a strong preference. It just seems like if people have something that's like truly a request, like somebody who wants someone to make slides for their book, we wouldn't necessarily be able to allocate anyone to that. Therefore, we shouldn't say that we would. So just wait till after the survey or the middle of the year or something, unless anyone has a different view. All right. We'll check back in March.
So are you going to do the survey? I mean, how are you going to proceed with that then?
I will write a first draft of the communication.
Okay.
Shingai and anyone else can add on this page.
Right.
Just listing the name. And then we will send that communication to these groups and other and mailing lists that we have access to, and send it out during February, so that by March we just are like, where are we at a little bit, and presenting a live CODA site, interactive CODA site that people can search for systems education's opportunities, that they can still have the form so people can be added into this live and updating site. And we wouldn't have a bias about what we present. I mean, that I don't mean that in a formal sense. We would exert the bias that we exert, but we wouldn't be like supported by any of those programs. Then maybe I'll look into the blog affordance, check about maybe posting the video of summary, but or maybe wait a few more weeks or something till after the survey, and then it could be more like, we've done the survey, it's ongoing though. There's a lot of, here are the specific next things, because I think we can handle sending this out and getting the initial version of the viewable site on CODA operating. And then we'll have more of a deliverable that people can see. So sounds good to send it in February?
Yeah.
Basically, and those are some helpful things. In
Yep.
the systems organization, just add groups here. And then in the in the link that is here, or I'll just make a dedicated page.
Daniel, I have a quick question
Yeah.
for the organizations, universities, and programs. Should we start adding basically like non-university and non-academic programs? So for example, there's systems-innovation.io, which has a lot of great sort of free educational content. They are not affiliated with the university. Would it be helpful to add those types of organizations as well, and maybe just like have them as a different category? Or
Yeah, I definitely think it should be beyond the universities, but then the question becomes, to what extent are these questions going to what extent will this apply to some, it's like a community of practice?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whereas this is like, it's oriented around something where there would be a fee, and also looking at the survey questions would be very helpful to make sure that, that this is just, we'll have what the question data is going to be about. So if people want to see that what we're collecting is whether they think there should be some other thing to ask or collect, and then question asked as, and we'll just copy in that question description. What is your email address, or what is the program contact name? So yeah, like definitely. Isn't this the question though? Do we want to replicate the 1985 study?
Well, that's a good question.
Or what other, how else would people, what are we looking for? And if there were a live page where the information were accessible, it would be called what? Systems what?
And I thought it'd be interesting to see what the state is now compared to 1985. And frankly, I mean, that's why having similar questions and a similar format is helpful, because you can sort of do a comparison one to the next. That's what my thinking was.
Interesting. There's the system census angle, and then there's the changing structure of what is within that. Like 1985 would, it's explicitly for systems education programs.
Yeah, I think the thought that's coming to me now is that perhaps in the short term, it is best to focus exclusively on academic programs so that we can get that sort of like direct comparison of the state of 1985 to the state of today, like what's different within that context.
There was a continuing education field. This is undergrad and research oriented. But so that's the question, like, do we want to use these categories or and have these as program emphases? For these emphases, I would lean towards please just write as many as you'd like with commas, not make up some list, drop down list. Just let people put as many, yeah. And then on the program type, we could include community practice or early childhood education. Or we could say, we could split it into like program type and just let it be plain text. Someone could say like whatever they want. And then program terminus gift certificate BS, you know, masters. It's just, we don't even know. Do you get a certificate at the end? Is there any degree or certificate associated with the course, with the program? Like this, were there groups like Ben Taylor et al. With continuing
not back
professional
then.
education?
Not back then, there weren't. don't think so. I mean, of course, one of the limitations of that, it was a printed document, whereas what, you're going to be doing is putting a spreadsheet together, and theoretically at some point there could be an interface to it to allow people to search.
Oh, like here's the live streams for ActInf.
Yeah.
Type in ecology, and then it's like, here's where that was discussed.
Yeah. Oh, really? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and this is a totally shareable link. This is not Coda access. This
Oh,
is
really?
just
What
a
is it then?
view. It's publishable from the Coda. Basically, you can go into share, publish, and like make
Okay.
it publishable. But or you can make another doc that gets a table fed into it. So this is like just like a website only doc. It gets every day, just resyncs, or every hour resyncs the table, and then just presents the table at this stable URL.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, because in a way, what would be really helpful just straight off the bat would be to take what Rob Young's done and put it in Coda and do precisely what you've just done.
Oh
Just
yes.
have a view and a search. I mean,
Yes.
and it might be useful even for this group. I mean, you could say for like in 2 weeks' time, you could do a public session for anybody in ISSS on using Coda, period. I mean, like just an introduction to Coda as a systems organizing tool or something. I mean, because the view there and the way you've just presented it, I think that would be a great step forward, really, because I was thinking about his spreadsheet and and he said I spoke to him yesterday, he's going to send me another spreadsheet, or spend us as another spreadsheet, which has got all of the titles of all of the, I think he said yearbooks in it, right? So, I mean, that would be a brilliant thing to put up on Coda, and then to tell people how to use Coda, because I mean, you're obviously a whiz on it because you're on it all the time, but I have not focused on it as much as probably would be helpful. That might be getting access. I mean, this is sort of then obviously what I'm learning from this right now and talking about education and your use of Coda is, of course, a knowledge management process, which is kind of the interesting dance that we have when we are focused on education here and how you educate people or how they learn. And you've got, using Coda for that purposes, and then how you then flip over to the education conversation next week, maybe. I mean, the knowledge management next week, knowledge engineering, about how stuff is structured and made available. So it's really intriguing to me anyway.
Awesome.
Just
Yes.
when
When Rob has sent the there was a discussion on it last week.
Right.
Like the what are called collections?
Yeah.
Yeah, what are called collections? Okay, so ISSS is an organization.
Mhm.
So he's interested across organizations, we're not. Then there's collections, like, which is a recurring series of some type of content. Yearbooks, proceedings, bulletins,
right,
discussions with Shingai and George. And then there is the content itself. So when previously he sent enumeration of all the collections of ISSS. The next step is that he's going to send the titles of the yearbooks.
Correct. Yeah.
And then for sure, it will be possible to make an interactive resource. And then the next steps are really, what do we expose? And then also he's more interested at this point in inventorying. So then storing the full text content in an integrated place instead of like kind of, even if we know where everything is, having a version that is mirrored will make the organizing of that like much more simple. Yes, here's the most recent version, but here's our stored version of this material. If we can have it, is gonna make it so that if some website that we don't even know goes down, we still have material. But I know that there's a whole other, set of things with that.
Right.
But in many cases, it may be ISSS, or we don't know what I personally don't know the IP status of a bulletin from 1960.
Hmm.
I think the survey will help us understand what other people are doing, especially if any of you fellows can think of ways to ask about what the substance of what they're doing is. There may be many ways to ask about that. So it asked in 85 the skills that they get, their job opportunities, practices, just different ways to ask without inducing too much form fatigue. Maybe once people start to see what others, oh, well, they wrote a cool paragraph about what they do. That sounds very interesting. Then that person could update their row.
Hmm.
So we'll have better access to our archives in the coming.
Right.
Then
That's part. Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome. Then we'll learn a little bit about just what some spot sampling tells us about systems education. See what is developing and what directions are good in March, but by February try to have both of those things or all of those previously mentioned things kind of functional.
Okay, it's good progress. Thank
All right.
you. I'm going to go.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Thanks a lot. See you
Yep.
all, guys.
Thank you
Yep.
all. Bye.